Okay, this is my attempt to demonstrate my workflow in Anime Studio. I'm Mike Kelly, one of the forum administrators of the Animators Forum, which you probably already know because you would be seeing this video on that forum, hopefully. And if not, if you're seeing this somehow on YouTube and haven't gone to the forum, please do visit our forum. Anyway, so this is an attempt to show what my workflow is like, and in particular to highlight the use of the Shuttle Pro, which I will talk about a little bit here first. The Shuttle Pro is kind of like a mouse device, which has buttons as well. And the valuable thing about it is if you're doing a lot of animation and you're into a workflow, to me the idea is that you animate by keeping your hands on the mouse, or one hand on the mouse at all times. And then, as you're moving the mouse around within your workspace, you want to keep it on your animated characters and your animated environment as much as possible and not have to move it offward in order to hit tools or look at layers, for example. You can't even see the layers here because I'm running this on a dual monitor, but for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm trying to show you only the monitor. So this is my layers is actually even off on another monitor. But it isn't important because I don't even need to select my layers when I'm doing my animation, as you'll see using the Shuttle Pro and the custom script tools that I've written in conjunction with Wes. So anyway, back to the Shuttle Pro. So my idea is to keep the mouse on one hand on the mouse at all times, and the other hand is on the Shuttle Pro. And the reason that is while you can assign a lot of these tools to the keyboard shortcuts, unless you have a hand with an awful lot of fingers on it, you aren't going to be able to use one hand to control all the keys on the keyboard. You can try to reassign them so that they're in a functional area for you, but it's still not going to be as convenient as using the Shuttle Pro. So that's my pitch for that, and I'll show you how that works. However, if you don't have a Shuttle Pro, if you don't want to buy one, or you don't have one yet and you're going to buy one, everything that I'm going to do can be done via the keyboard and via mouse commands, and so it will be instrumental and I think interesting to see how that is accomplished. So anyway, down here, I'm going to bring up, for those of you guys that don't have a Shuttle Pro, I want to bring up the Shuttle Pro configuration. I thought this would be the easiest way to show you it. I could use a video camera, and then that involves a lot more work and effort on my part, and therefore I probably would never do it. So this is kind of a graphical representation of what the Shuttle Pro looks like. It actually, and I will put a link to what the whole device looks like, but essentially these are the buttons on the Shuttle Pro. And when your hand rests on them, your hand very comfortably can reach all of these buttons, including this jog wheel here, and control things. And if we go to Anime Studio, so it has a lot of built-in presets for a lot of programs, as you can see. And I don't think it comes with Anime Studio, but it might. But in any case, I've reprogrammed it with all of my presets for my Anime Studio. So, for example, on this button, which I like to think button number 1, is the eyebrow layer choose. I'm going to show you how all these work in a second, but just to get you an idea on how some of these buttons are assigned. Here's eyelids macros assigned there, and here's the pupils there, and bones is going to be on button 4. And then on these buttons down here, I have assigned, like this one is the control key, and this one is the alt key, and that's the shift key. This is my K key, as you'll see if we go over to, if I can guess which button it is. Oh, didn't guess which right. It's one of those buttons. Not 9, not that one. Not 9, not 10. All right, well, it's one of those buttons on the side. The heck is that button? 13. Oh, I'll bet it's probably 14 and 15. The very last button. This button, as you notice, is the K key. And that key is assigned to another one of my scripts. So anyway, so a lot of these buttons all these buttons are used to control my Anime Studio setup. So I'm going to close this for the nonce and show you how that works. So first I'm going to bring in one of my characters because this is all built around my character rigs too. And if, once again, I've drugged the timeline off on my other monitor too, once again, to make it easier to work with. So I'm going to bring it here a little bit just so you can see. And this will be how I would keep my mouse. I want to keep my mouse in my workspace and in the timeline. That's the only two places I really want to bring the mouse. I don't want to have to come over here and select a tool. It's not terrible, but it's a little fussy to have to try to get the right tool. Much easier to press a button to get the right tool, or to select things on screen. So here's one of my characters. I'm going to bring in two characters so that you can see how the two thing works. So I'll bring in Ernie as my secondary character. Now, we're at frame 0. I have one of the buttons on the Shuttle Pro, actually the jog button, assigned to immediately move me to frame 1. So I can go to frame 1 or frame 0 very quickly by just hitting the little tiny jog on that button. This is very useful because these are the two key frames, if you'll excuse the pun, where a lot of things happen. Obviously, frame 0 is where you set up a lot of stuff, and frame 1 is where all of your animation starts there. So anyway, here we are at frame 1. And if I want to work on one of these characters, I want to animate one of these characters, one of the keys I have assigned is on the Shuttle Pro. I'm going to press this key, and this is my character select script. Notice it changes to this thing. It shows a little icon of character select. Now, nobody's selected right now. So if I click on Ernie, for example, now Ernie's selected. It's Ernie. If I click on who looks like Barney, he's Barney. Barney's selected. So you notice I can just click right in the work area on the character that I want to select. Once I've selected that character, then by using the mouse key button, I can hold down the mouse and actually move that character around on screen. If I wanted to select this character and move him, I would just select that and just move him. So this is very useful to be able to position your characters properly. And I want him to switch the other way. Well, I've got that assigned to my Alt key on the Shuttle Pro, so I'm not moving my hand off the Shuttle Pro. And all I have to do is hold down that Alt key and then click on that character, and then it immediately switches him. The other key I have assigned down below is the Shift key, and if I click on the character, then he moves his head back and forth, so I can select that. And same thing with, I get over to Ernie, and I can select him, and I can move him, switch him back and forth, and move his head back and forth. Ernie's actually constructed a little better. His center of character is selected better, so that when I change him, he stays centered. If you notice that Barney doesn't change as well, that's because his center isn't adjusted properly, and I really should do that. And I will at some point, but not probably in the tutorial. And notice I'm selecting this case. If we really want to see the whole thing, I'm going to bring the layers in here. My scripts automatically handle. I could go back out and select the character manually in the script, but once again, that's a process that takes me out of the workflow, out of this established work area. Plus, if my characters are down below, they might be in a set, for example, they may be nested deep, I may have to worry about where they are. Here, I don't have to worry about them. All I have to do is just select on them, and then it selects the character right on that character level, and notice it's doing that. So I never actually have to even worry about layers. For most of my animation, unless I'm actually going to move the layer, like move Ernie or Barney behind each other, in front of each other, I'm not even going to look at the layers menu, the layers palette. I don't care about the palette at all, so I'm going to move it aside. So anyway, so now I've got Ernie selected. Okay, he's here, and I'm going to press another one of my keys, and that's the pupils key. And now I can move around his eyes. If I zoom in, it'll be a little bit easier to see. And so now I can do that and establish keys as I move through the timeline. So now you can see he can actually move his eyes by just moving those keys around. And so that's one of those things I have, the ability to move the pupils. I can also adjust his eyelids. So now I'm just pressing a key on the shuttle. Notice it switched to Ernie's eyelids. Ernie's the selected character. I just went to his eyelids. And now I can immediately go to, let's say, wide open. And my routine to do this, I have delayed change. What that means is that puts in a previous key to hold his eyelids the way they were and then adjust them so it doesn't abruptly change. If I take out that delayed change, it'll immediately change that. So there's a way I can immediately change his eyes. And usually at that same time, I kind of want to change the eyebrow expression. And once again, this is a key on the shuttle. I just press the key on the shuttle, and there's the eyebrows, and I can make him surprised. So all these things I just immediately did without even moving my hand from either the mouse or the Shuttle Pro. I didn't have to go to layers, didn't have to worry about where the eyes and the eyelids were, and just immediately, and you can see how quickly that is to adjust that. If I forget what the eyelids look like, I actually have a little routine here where I can look and see what all the different eyelids do if I forget. But by now I pretty well know, so I don't have to worry about that. And then if I want to adjust his mouth the same way, I can go to the mouth, and now he's in rest neutral. And I can go, and I have different mouth positions, as you can see here once again. So if I want to go like that, so there's a good expression, and he goes, oh, so it's very easy to immediately animate his change in expression, all without doing very much, without moving my hands off the keyboard. And of course, I have bones, and I'm pressing another key on the Shuttle Pro, and that turns on the bones. Another key I have assigned on the Shuttle Pro is will create keys. So I'm going to press that now. That's where my thumb rests at all times, and that's one I use all the time for a hold key. So I'm going to put a hold key in for the bones. My hold key routine works on whatever layer you're selected on. So I happen to be on the bone layer, so it puts in keys for the bone layer. And then if I then adjust the bones and maybe make him, maybe a burglar is sticking a gun in his face or something and making him raise his hand, and so he goes, oh, like that. Obviously, he shouldn't be moving his hands up for a while, so I'll slip those keys a little bit further down, and he goes, oh, there we go. So you can see. And now his hands are not adjusted in the right position. Normally, a person can't really turn their hand this way if they open their hand up. Yes, once again, I have another key to adjust hands. This is a really cool routine because I can click directly on the hand I want to adjust. So I click on this hand, and it brings up different hands, and I happen to know that the different hands there are bleeding. And then I can click on this hand here and also adjust that hand. I have different hands that I can adjust. If for some reason I need to change the alignment of these hands, depending on how they move their hands, somebody may need to twist the hand in the opposite direction. I also have the same kind of key that I have by holding down the shift key. I can adjust that hand back and forth. I would have to click on here and adjust this back and forth if I need to do that. So there's that. And also on my basic adjustment, my basic character select adjustment, I can move him as well, but I can also, with the other keys, I can also scale him. So if I hold this down, I can scale him, which is another thing I often need to do with characters, is scale them and move them. I don't have a rotate anymore. I used to have a rotate on this routine, but I really decided that mostly I do that with bones anyway. So if I was really going to rotate somebody, I would put a key down there and then just rotate the root bone. And then Ernie goes crazy. Whoa, he just goes flipping crazy. There. Rotates all the way around. And I have a key on the Shuttle Pro that plays everything. So once again, I can press the key and it starts and stops the playback. So once again, the key thing is never to remove your hand from what you're doing. In this case, I've got my hand all the time on the Shuttle Pro and on the mouse, and that's basically my workflow with the Shuttle Pro. I hope that explains how the Shuttle Pro works, and I hope you can see in general how my workflow works. I will try to make some tutorials or make some more tutorials that explain in detail how my characters are rigged. But for the purposes of this demo, this is basically just to show you how quickly you can set up moving your characters around and doing things with them. If I wanted to do something with Barney, I want to do something with his eyes, I'd set a key there for his eyes first, and then he's looking at Ernie because he's surprised that Ernie's going, oh, and then Ernie jumps up in the air, so now I want his eyes also to open up. So his eyes get wide open. And he's getting very surprised, so maybe his eyebrows also get very weird. I don't know, maybe they go tear. Well, they go tear because you can't see because his hat there, so I have to move his hat up a little bit. But, oh. And then maybe his mouth opens up also. His mouth goes, terror. Whoa. Okay. Anyway, that's how simple it is to, of course, maybe he should be the one to bring a gun with him. So he holds the gun up, and if he had a gun in his hand, he might maybe just have a gun finger. Okay, well, this animation absolutely makes no sense whatsoever, but at least I think you can see how easy it is to animate. And the whole thing, of course, is to attempt to minimize the number of keystrokes and things that you have to think about. The more you have to think about what you're doing, the less organic your animation is. So in this particular case, all I have to do is think, I really just want him to do this, and I just want to move it, and I don't want to have to think about what layer I'm on or where I'm at. And that's the beauty of this process. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them on this thread or on Animators Forum. See you around.